Winnipeg's most iconic intersection has been closed to pedestrians for 45 years. Now, the mayor wants to reopen Portage and Main to foot traffic. The announcement comes nearly 6 years after a majority of Winnipeggers voted to keep the concrete barricades in place, but repairs are needed to keep the underground concourse open, and the mayor says fixing it would be too costly and disruptive. As CBC's Cameron McLean reports, the decision is reopening old divisions at City Hall.
When a local sports team wins, fans celebrate at Portage and Main. These are some of the only times Winnipeggers have seen people on foot in the city's iconic intersection. By summer 2025, that could change.
It's time to open Portage and Main to pedestrian traffic.
That announcement comes after a report says it would cost up to $73 million to repair the underground concourse. That repair could cause traffic disruptions for up to 5 years.
We can save Winnipeggers nearly half a decade of traffic chaos. We can save tens of millions of dollars in future construction costs, and we can ensure the successful launch of the new transit network.
One of the major problems is the waterproof membrane protecting the underground concourse. It's more than 40 years old and needs replacing. The mayor's plan would require shutting down the concourse. Property Chair Sherry Rowland says the city is reaching out to the businesses that operate there.
We care a lot about them. We care a lot about the empty spaces that we want to see filled above ground too.
While the mayor was flanked by several councillors supporting him, Councillor Russ Wyatt took to the podium to declare his opposition when City Hall staff cut his microphone.
These councillors up here who were just here before the citizens of Winnipeg have no right to have the arrogance to say that their opinion is better and more important than the citizens of Winnipeg.
Jeff Burwadi pushed for the 2018 plebiscite, but doesn't support a second one.
All of the scenarios had costs associated with them. And again, we don't have the costs that are involved with filling in the intersection and opening it up.
Council will vote on reopening Portage and Main at its meeting later this month. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
The idea of opening Portage and Main to foot traffic has been divisive for both drivers and pedestrians for years. So what do people who use the intersection think? CBC's Jim Agapito made his way past the barricades to find out.
We can just walk across Portage and Main, it would be better. Why put all that money in if in 40 years you have to fix it again? You know, I think that Manitoba has beautiful weather, and I think having a chance to come across Portage and Main would be a better way of doing it.
I know how long it takes to cross Main. It takes a long time. Can you imagine the amount of people that are like crossing and the amount of cars that are going to get backed up? People are already complaining about downtown traffic. It's just going to make it so much worse.
More of a scatter crosswalk would be appropriate than a crosswalk that would hold up traffic, especially during busy times like Jets games and Gold Eyes games and other stuff like that.
Financially, like a $50 million difference is pretty big. So on that standpoint, definitely above ground.
I feel like just the time it would take for us to walk from where we work to, let's say, this intersection and then have to wait for the lights to change. I do really value the underground because it gives us a safer way to go across. We're, of course, shielded, protected from the elements that we experience here.
So we've heard from the politicians, we've heard from some of the people they represent. CBC's Bartley Kivas tells us what some of the property owners and downtown businesses think.
Portage and Main, the most famous intersection in Winnipeg. Pedestrians haven't been able to cross it since 1979, when barricades went up, forcing pedestrians through this concourse underground.
Ideas and people create capital.
Former Mayor Glenn Murray wanted to reopen up above. His successor, Sam Cates, put a stop to that, citing a 40-year deal with adjacent property owners to keep it closed. When Brian Bowman ran for mayor, he too pledged to open it up, but backed away when Winnipeggers said no in a 2018 plebiscite. The co-chair of the unsuccessful Vote Open campaign that year says the result would have been different if Winnipeggers knew then what they know today.
Winnipeggers like common sense, and Winnipeggers like saving money. And if we'd known, if everyone had known 6 years ago that it was $73 million to keep the barricades up, then I think it would have been a very different result.
6 years after the plebiscite, there's less traffic in downtown Winnipeg. The organization that speaks for downtown businesses says a majority of them want to see Portage and Main open up above ground.
Downtown has changed over the last number of years, and it really is about making sure that there is vibrancy on our streets.
There's also change among Portage and Main property owners. 3 out of 5 now support pedestrian crossings, including James Richardson and Sons, which owns the Richardson Building, and Harvard Developments, which owns 201 Portage Avenue.
We think that it's a critical component of activating and energizing the downtown core.
The Manitoba Métis Federation, which is converting the Bank of Montreal building into a heritage center, supports reopening as well.
We should be asking ourselves, how do we make downtown what it should be? How do we make downtown bustling? How do we make downtown a place you want to be? How do you make downtown safe?
Both Harvard and Richardson say they have yet to analyze the impact of a permanent closing of the underground crossing. Bell MTS, which owns a tower at the intersection, declined comment. CBC News did not hear back from Artis Real Estate Investment Trust, which owns Winnipeg Square and its adjoining office towers. Bart Lekivas, CBC News, Winnipeg.